What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Devy Royale YouTube channel. I am your host, as always, Kevin Coleman at DuBois_22, and we are back on the channel to talk about freshmen. So we're going to do a little freshman focus series, looking at guys every week, some freshmen that we should highlight. And our first guy, it seems appropriate, is to talk about Nicholas Singleton from Penn State. Freshman running back, 6', 5'11", 220 kid, and college year last year, if you listen to our show, this is one of the highlights of our shows. We go into these guys and we talk about them, and he was my running back one. I know a lot of guys had Jadon Blue, those other guys out there. Not me. Singleton was my guy, and I said he could have a Travion Henderson type season this year, and he's on the way. Like, I just thought he had a perfect blend of athleticism and speed, and he just popped off on the tape, and he's been my guy since the beginning. And when you watch him this year, 30 attempts, 334 yards and 4 touchdowns. He's averaging 11.1 yards per carry, essentially. He doesn't have any receiving yet. We'll talk about that later. But what he's been able to do on the limited amount of volume that he's gotten, that is something to be impressed about. Like, if he could get 20, 30 attempts, we're talking about legitimate talent. And I think he's going to be able to do that. So when you're looking at their offense and looking at what they're able to do, they're going to lean really heavy on their rushing attack. And then they're going to play good defense. And then in the Big Ten, that's going to translate very well. They're going to try to limit Clifford's mistakes. And I think that's the big thing with Singleton and with what you have. They're going to try to limit that, and they're going to lean on that rushing attack. And Singleton's going to be a big part of their offense. And he's going to have a Travion-like season. I mean, he's on pace. He's going to get probably 1,000 yards if he does this well. He's going to get 4 touchdowns. He's a beast inside. They're going to use him in there. I've been very, very happy with him. Overall, for running backs, he's our 11th ranked running back of every class, and I think that might be a little low. I think we're going to have to bump him up a little bit on our consensus rank. For me, he's my running back 1, and overall, I think he's a top 6 guy already. If you're looking at where he's at, I think by the end of this year, realistically, he could be Devy running back 2 or 3, somewhere in that category, right there with Travion, Braylon Allen, those guys, Will Shipley. Like, we're talking about high-level talent. Now, we'll go through his strengths. Top end speed. When you watch him run, he's always had this. You watch him run in high school, he had this too. That top end speed is something to really look at. North-south runner, and you're going to notice this about him. He will bounce it, so that's kind of a weakness. But as soon as he gets going downhill, man, he is gone. And when you watch him play, that's something that you have to love about his game. Physicality, I've put this on here. I know some people won't say that's a strength, but this kid is just a beast inside. He has that body type that just allows him to break tackles, allows him to get through the line of scrimmage. Like, he does it all really, really well. That north-south ability running. The comp that they gave on 247 Sports, and I don't try to use this comps because sometimes, and I'm not very good at comps. That's why I have Christian with us. But Nick Chubb is the comp, and I see a lot of Nick Chubb in there, except for maybe Singleton could be faster. So that's where I really like to highlight. Now, what are his weaknesses? So if we're looking at weaknesses from a fantasy perspective, receiving, he's got to be a receiver. So I think that was a knock at him coming out of high school. It didn't really have that receiving ability, or I wouldn't say ability, production. This year, kind of the same thing. He's got 1 catch, 0 yards. I mean, that's all that he has. And they talk about his agility questions. Like, when you watch him play, how well is he able to make guys miss in open space? He can definitely make that one cut and go, and he can definitely outrun dudes, but can he make that agility, those people missing space and on the inside? I think those are the 2 weaknesses, if we're going to point out weaknesses for Singleton, that he has. Now, if we're watching the tape, and we're going to kind of put on 2 of his games against Ohio, you'll see it here. So this is his kind of speed. Like, he breaks it, he gets it up the field. So, like, if you just watch this real quick, watch him. He sees the hole, and then he's gone. Okay, when you see that, you're going to see that area, and he's just going to keep going and going through. That, for me, is just next level speed, and that's talent. So when you're watching him play there, you're talking about legitimate talent, legitimate areas here where he can succeed. Again, you'll notice it here, like, and this is where, when you look at him, when you're talking about, hey, can he, the next step, he takes the cut, gets to the outside. He likes to bounce it to the outside, which he was able to do in high school. He played in an okay division in high school, but when you're looking at him, he did play against kind of lower level talent. He does this against Ohio too. Now, he saw the hole. That's good vision. But again, quick bounce. He sees it. I do think he has a tendency to bounce outside, but when he gets on the outside and he takes that edge, he's gone. Like, there's no one's going to catch him. So I think he's had that ingrained into his overall game. Hey, going through, getting to the outside and doing this. You'll see this against Auburn. He tries to get to the outside. Auburn had a little bit different level athlete. He couldn't get that. But you'll see him kind of adjust, and that's the good thing about it. Again, he takes the inside here, and he's able to go. And you'll see this. This is that north-south ability. So Singleton has that north-south ability. I think the question mark is, because he have that agility on the inside? Does he have that agility in the open field? But when he gets it going and he goes, there's probably no one better right now in college football. He can just break it and go. And that's a great hole, obviously. And he is just fast. And you saw this against SEC talent, which I was excited to see. That's one of the main reasons why I was happy that they played Auburn. Is okay, you can do this against the Big Ten. Can you do this against Ohio? What can you do against Auburn? And he came to play. This game, like I mentioned, he had 10 attempts, 124 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Right here makes me laugh. He should have heard of this kid, and I think he knows it too. He's just like, damn it. But you notice those little things about him. He's got that edge. And then, hey, they're not afraid to go right back to him in the red zone. So if we're talking about fantasy purposes, he's scoring touchdowns already. Like if you have him in a C2C league, which is campus to can, you have the college production, you're starting him every week. He's a must start. If you have him in Devy, you're excited because where you drafted him at. Again, going to the inside, breaks the out. Like you'll notice these runs are all pretty much the same for him. Hey, he's going to have that lateral kind of quickness, one step and go. So watch that again real quick just to kind of highlight that for him. But again, he has these big plays, right? Breaks in the inside, goes and gets by the corner. If the cornerback takes bad angles like 10 did right there, he's gone. Like, so he makes guys take the angles that he needs to go to get by. And I think for me, watching him and watching that tape, like that's exciting. Now, I hope that he gets that, the receiving a little bit ability going. And I do hope that, he can get that lateral agility, but these might not be things that we're talking about. But this looks like, based on his receiving, maybe lack of receiving in those areas, this could be Chubb. And we're talking about a guy. Then we have to start thinking about, okay, from PPR perspectives, if we're going to be in that route, what is he going to be? But right now, I mean, he's one of the best pure runners, like just watching him play. So let's talk about outlook real quick. I definitely want to dive into that. For me right now, just based on where he's at, like I mentioned, in his Devy ranks, for us, he's number 11. He's clearly the running back 1 of the 25 class. So when you're trying to value him there, I still think he's in this range. So if we're looking at guys that I have ahead, Travion, Bijan, Jahmyr Gibbs, Zach Evans, Shipley, Braylon Allen, Kendall Milton, Tank Bigsby, Sean Tucker, Donovan Edwards, and Singleton. But there's some guys out there that wouldn't trade Bigsby straight up for Singleton. I think in Devy, you're always looking for that straight up production of when that production is going to be. The sooner the better, obviously, especially with Devy leagues. But I still think if you're going to value him, he's a top 11, top 10 guy for sure. And there's an argument to be had that he's number 7. So there's an argument to be had he'd be right behind Allen. And that's not bad for 3 games in. And when you look at his schedule and what's coming up for Penn State, I mean, we're going to see real quick. I think he can have that Travion arc. They play Central Michigan in their next game this weekend. Then they have Northwestern, Michigan, Minnesota, Ohio State, Indiana. So they're going to play tough defenses as they go through the Big Ten. But I think Singleton gives them the best chance to win. And it's going to show that he could be easily, maybe next year, we're talking about him being a top 5 running back already. And that's what these running backs are. So if you are in the Patreon or whatever, and I go through my draft strategy, my number one thing is you value running backs the highest in Devy, top end guys. Like stop wasting middle round picks on running backs that are going to get day 3 capital. You go get these guys because that's how you win your league. So I appreciate you guys tuning in. If you haven't already, I'm going to throw on our Patreon, outro here. But if you haven't gotten in there yet, we do specific Patreon episodes. So we're doing podcast episodes. Christian Williams does all 22 breakdowns for you guys. We have our rankings. We have our manifesto. We have everything in there. We have tons of content. It's $3 a month. With inflation, that's like $1.50. So if you can get in there, support us a little bit. You can find the link below. Hit that link, get in there, and we can start doing that and get in our Discord and we can talk some little college football. So I appreciate you guys tuning in. I'll check you guys next time.